Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Barris as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Carrie Kohan, who needed to find a way to work less and earn more money because her full-time career as a volunteer national child advocate had become her mission in life. Over the next 17 years, Carrie amended and changed 14 laws to protect children from predators. Wow, amazing. But this single mom still needed to earn a living and support her two young girls by herself as well. So she went back to what she knew best, self-resilience, faith, and trust that she'd find a way. And she did. From being a janitor to retiring early from investing in real estate, then losing her fortune and having to start over, Carrie Kohan is the epitome of a rags to riches story. Currently, she owns a residential retreat center called Villa Heaven, which is near the glorious beaches of Portugal. Guests come and stay for 1 to 6 months at a time and learn how to first relax, be open to ideas, and then how to implement with ease and grace. Wow, I think we all want to be there for 1 to 6 months in this amazing place. She's a speaker, a therapist, an international best-selling author, and so much more. Her book, The 5 Lessons of Life, has been a #1 best-selling book in 7 countries for the past 15 months. This is unheard of in a self-published book world. And Carrie is a former business partner of the motivational speaker who you may have heard of, Tony Robbins. Carrie, welcome to the show. We are so excited to speak with you today.
Thanks so much, Flavia.
So, quick question for you. Tell us a little bit about sort of a week in the life of Carrie. What is it that you do? What does your work life look like?
I'm pretty retired now, actually. I've set my life up quite nicely by minimizing expenses and allowing myself to have the income is an interesting thing because may I go back? The week now is really easy compared to what I've gone through. But when I think back to when I was 18 years old, I was so driven. I was an entrepreneur. And, I had done things at like 13 years old. I had car washes and like this similar story to so many entrepreneurs. And so when I was 18, I took a course at the University of Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. And it was Al Lowry course out of the States, How to Buy a House with No Money Down. And I remember having to have a private meeting with them because you had to be 19 years old or older to take the course. And I begged them to allow me to come into their course. And I was so determined. And I was a waitress at the time. I was saving my tips and, we'd go out partying after work. I would have orange juice and I would have water. I wouldn't spend any of my money. I was so driven to where I was going because I didn't want the life of poverty that my parents had. And so that was the beginning of it. And so by 19, I was pretty much retired. I had bought 2 houses that had 9 suites in them. I had 12 tenants by the time I was 19, just turning 20. And the positive cash flow that came from there was enough to pay all my expenses. And at the time, I only needed $2,500 a month to pay all my expenses. And so technically I was retired. And fast forward many years, I've had multi-million-dollar companies. I've built construction companies. It was usually in male-dominant fields that I would go into. And here I am in a place where I've gone back in time to when I was like 18, where I've brought all my expenses down to be so low that I can offer to people that they can come stay for virtually free. I mean, it's 15 euros a night. In Portugal, that is unheard of. So consequently, we're full. And so I'm able to enjoy the lifestyle here. I go for an early morning walk with my dog. She actually was just at my feet a few minutes ago, kind of like, come on, Mom, come on, let's get going, because we also go for an evening walk as well. And we're just minutes from the beaches. So I explore the caves, and I'm an artist now. I do a lot of creative stuff. Less business, more play. That's what life is really all about.
I love this. And as some listeners know, my background is Latin. I come from a, Latin environment in Argentina. Of course, I moved to the United States when I was pretty young. I was 7 years old. So I didn't really get to experience that culture as even a teenager, much less an adult. So I'm pretty much American, but there is this amazing quality when I visit my family, my friends in Latin countries. I remember when I went to Spain to visit my aunt for the first time, and it was like around 3 p.m. and we had just arrived. We needed to go and get some lunch or do some things. And so we're in the middle of Barcelona, which is like the city, right? And we're like, let's go get some lunch. Let's go do something. And my aunt had to tell us, oh, no, it's midday. Everything's closed. And we're like, oh, no. I mean, anything will do, just something, it doesn't have to be your favorite restaurant. Oh, she's like, oh, no, everything is closed. Like post office,
everything.
It's all closed. And it was just this, take a moment and say, look, society can go on without 24/7 activity. Like it is possible. And here in the States, traditionally, Sunday was supposed to be sort of the day off for everybody, for people who are religious, they go to church, and then, Saturdays as well. So like it's kind of a weekend based society. But in some countries like Spain, every single day has its period of rest. And that's when you take a little time to yourself. And then again, I realized people stay up and have dinner into like the midnight hours. So it's just a way to adjust your schedule and how it works. So do you absolutely love Portugal? Do you see yourself ever leaving?
Once you're here and living here and immersed in the culture, like you say, we have siestas in the afternoon and not everything is closed here between 1 and 3. Actually, we have a lot of stores that are, but you'll find that some staff will go and have a rest and others will come forward and keep a skeletal staff going in the grocery stores or it's not as closed down as it was traditionally. But dinner time, yes, 9 o'clock at night is when the activities begin here and where most people are going for dinner. I still haven't quite adjusted to that. I still like dinner around 6 o'clock. But my first experience to this kind of lifestyle was going to Mexico. And I remember almost being pissed off a little bit. It was like, what do you mean everything's closed? What about us?
Right.
And then when you actually immerse yourself into the culture, you realize I understand why the movie Eat, Pray, Love was so successful. Because I think so many of us desire that kind of freedom and that kind of creativity and ease in life. And that's what I found here in Portugal is the ease in life. It's not the rat race anymore.
Right.
And by minimizing,
and that ease is there, isn't it? It's there for everybody if you just design your life to make that a goal and make that reality, right?
Very much. And real estate, of course, has always been one of my venues for creating that kind of lifestyle. And I think that everyone has that ability, especially nowadays. You can do rent now, buy later kind of operations. There's so many different ways that you can buy real estate. There isn't that stronghold that, I need 50,000 or 200,000 down to buy this house. There are so many creative ways of sandwich lease options and someone carrying the paper for you, carrying a mortgage for you that has a house that's free and clear. And it's just a matter of asking and being open and being resourceful, really.
Well, listeners can't see you, but I can right this moment. And behind you is just gorgeous, gorgeous sunlight, greenery. There's a window I can see through. There's a swimming pool out there. It's just a lovely life. And I love that you were so intentional about setting this up as your life. Now, real estate is near and dear to my heart. I am a real estate gal. I've done it all in real estate. I'm a real estate lawyer. I am a real estate broker. And really, my father was a real estate developer. So I tend to think it's just in the blood, or got passed down from him. But one thing that you bring up is it was something you did so early on. But let's say somebody is not 19 years old and they're a little older, but they want to get into real estate. Do you think that there's something in it for them as well?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, when I came out of my divorce, I found myself in debt greatly. I don't want to blame anyone in the divorce by any means because I am really grateful that our divorce happened. But what I found was I was $1 million in debt and had to go bankrupt for our company. And all the money in the bank was gone. And I was left penniless with a $50 allowance every 2 weeks. And so I had to sit there and go, okay, I was a single mom basically for a very long time, not a single, but I was a mom that raised the kids. And all of a sudden now I was penniless and on my own. And now what am I going to do? I've got to raise these two little girls. And we were split, 50-50, but there was no money when the kids were with me. So I went back to work and I went back into real estate. And ironically, we had been land developers as well, my former and I. So we ended up working for a construction company. I ended up working for my former husband. And I had to work so hard to be able to get ahead. And I thought, darn it all, I'll show you. I'm gonna make myself here. And I ended up winning all kinds of awards. I was the top sales every month for 17 months. I won every award there was. But it was also because I was carrying two mortgages. I was carrying our family home, that we were divorcing from, and we couldn't sell. And I needed another home that was close to the girls' school. So I had already bought that one. And there I was with bridge financing for far too long. So because of that, I was motivated and I sold. And it's amazing how you can accomplish things when you're driven. So for young people coming into this is an interesting time. When I came out of that marriage, my first marriage, I started to look around and I thought, okay, I need a house. And I have $3,000 to my name. And that was a lot of money at that time. And I thought, okay, for me, I have great faith because I've had two near-death experiences. And so I prayed and I said, oh, Lord, what do I do? How do I? And all of a sudden on Kijiji, which I don't know if you have Kijiji or Craigslist, right? It's the same kind of program. I started to look for houses to rent. And I saw a house that was for rent or sale. And I phoned him up and I said, I know that you're looking at renting and you're also looking at selling. Would you be open to rent now, buy later, and rent to own? And he said, no, I don't think so. And I said, well, before you say no, it's all legal. I'll give you a copy of my contract and you can bring it to your lawyers, look it over. The title stays in your name until I complete. So we went ahead and it was a beautiful house. I was able to use the bottom in-law suite for workshops. So I was able to bring people to the house and have courses and classes and make money from the house to pay for the mortgage. So it all worked out well. So my message to young people is, if you're looking at the obstacles, that's all you're going to see. But if you look for another way, it's always there. And I kept hearing, you don't need money to live your dreams, Carrie. And I was like, yeah, you do. I got to pay mortgage. I got to pay, rent. I got to pay the utilities. And it was persistent. You don't need money to live your dreams. And I thought, okay, I'll call your bluff there. I'm having an argument with spirit, right? And I said, okay, if I actually believed what you're saying, that I don't need money to live my dreams, what would my life look like? Well, I would have a gorgeous house that was 6 minutes from the city on an acreage, had an in-law suite or a space for workshops. I would like to have beautiful big trees in the backyard and a nice water feature. And I just went on dreaming. Well, lo and behold, 15 minutes later, that was the house that I found on Kijiji and went after.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was so serendipitous. And within 3 days, the contract was signed and I was moving in within about a month. And so it can happen that fast when you truly believe in possibilities.
And
That's been my life.
And when you define what you want
Totally.
so specifically, right? I mean, you manifested that because you were specific. I mean, you pictured down to the landscaping. That's amazing.
Well, I think that's the key. I pictured, right? And I put emotions and feelings into those pictures. I visualized it. And if you're not visual, feel. If you're kinesthetic, if you're a feeling nature person, feel yourself in that house. Feel the doorknobs. Feel yourself walking into the house and feel the essence of your kitchen and being able to cook and smell the food. Feel yourself in that place. Feel the love that surrounds you, the partner that you have. If you're dreaming of your partner, still feel that partner and or
Yeah,
see.
we're on the same page because I tell people when you manifest, the visualization and the images in your head should be as rich and vibrant as your best memories. It should be
That's
that real in
that's
your mind.
brilliant. I love that. May I use that? That's
Use it
brilliant.
anytime you want and implement it. We all should, right? I mean, and it's easy even for me knowing that truth doesn't mean I always practice it. It's like you would think that at some point in life, and I've visualized and, manifested some amazing things, but you would think at some point I would not have to remind myself how to do it right and to be disciplined that way. And it would just be completely on autopilot. And that is not true. I think it is always a work in progress. And we have to, I see it like walking on a tightrope, right? You can never just say like, I got this, I'm relaxed, da, 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 and just like start running. Like you've just got to constantly adjust and remember and rebalance yourself.
And often that's where you fall, is when you take it for granted, when I got this, and you just go on autopilot and you're not aware of opportunities that are either coming to you or help that's coming to you. If you start pushing people away because, I'm confident I can do this, and it's almost like cockiness or ego, that's usually when people fall right off that tightrope, right? So
Right
it's a
off
great
the tightrope.
analogy. It's a great
So
analogy.
a little bit of homework for all of us listening right now is you've got a goal on your list. There is some goal that you're working towards. Knowing my listeners, we've all got 20 goals, but let's just focus on maybe the top goal. Or even this might be helpful to you. Focus on that one goal of your 20 or 30 or 50 or 1,000 that you're having maybe a little bit of trouble with, that for some reason has been on that list far too long. You're wondering, why haven't I moved any closer to that goal? And then ask yourself, how specific am I in that goal? How rich is my visualization of having attained that goal? What does that look like? What does it taste like, smell like? Everything that Carrie was mentioning, all your senses. And maybe that's the issue. So maybe tonight, as you're falling asleep, revisit that goal and take some time to really place yourself there and do a little time travel.
Well, it's interesting that I love words, and I love listening to words. And that's exactly what you said. You started off saying, if you're questioning, why haven't I gotten there yet? What we've taught, I've been teaching Freedom Masters workshops for about 30 years, and specifically the Freedom Masters workshops since about 2010. And so we teach that why questions spiral you down. They will spiral you down. And why am I so stupid? Why did I do that? Why am I not there yet? Your brain will go, I'll tell you why. And then it will give you answers like, well, you're not bright enough. You're not old enough. You're too young. You're too short. You're too tall. You're whatever it is, the old belief systems. But then you added, the homework is, how do I get there? How do I? And it's the how questions that will give you the answers. The how questions will say, how do I get there? Well, I'll tell you how. And your brain will give you the pathway to getting there. So why questions will spiral you down. How questions will lift you up and bring you in the right direction. And then you finished it off with, a little time travel. And that's exactly what I practice. I do most of my work with clients looking down their timeline, and I can shift down their timeline and kind of see past and go, okay, this is what we need to tweak. This is where we need to go. Because what is it you've been resisting? Why the self-sabotage? Why And they are good questions why in those instances, because we're looking for your brain to go, I'll tell you why. Because then once we know that limiting belief, we can scratch the heck out of it and we can rewrite a new belief system that is empowering and gets you going. So it really is all about thoughts and the power of your mind, the power of your thoughts to get you to where you're going. If you haven't reached it yet, just be patient and understand that everything is at your fingertips once you get out of your own way.
Agree. And we have this intelligence inside of us that's completely subconscious or unconscious, because you're right. If you say a sentence like, why have I not achieved this? Yeah, sure. Your brain, your subconscious, everything's going to just give you all the reasons why you haven't gotten your goal. And if you shift it to, how can I get there? What can I do next? What can I do today to get me a step closer? Well, now you're activating your resourcefulness, right? Because then your brain's this computer that's going to go, let me fetch you the answer to that. There must be an answer to that. Let's fetch you an answer.
Yeah. It's almost like the at the casino, you can almost hear the machine going ding, 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 ding. All the answers are spewing out. It's so exciting. And that's what we want to do, is activate that segment of your brain of resource.
No, this is great. Mm-hmm. So good homework for us all of us, myself included. Carrie, I'm sure this is a continuous practice for you. And so tell us a little bit more about these retreats. So right now, would you consider the retreats your core business?
No, because of COVID, we had to shut down the retreats. We couldn't have people coming and just one-offs. They couldn't just come and then leave. But we can have residents. We can have people that will stay for 1 month to 6 month stays. And that's what we've done, a total shift. And I've seen this coming for a long time. I've had a gift of sight since I was very young. I'm Aboriginal. And so my mom encouraged, the ability to trust your gut, to trust your intuition, to trust visions that come. And so I've seen it for a long time. I kept hearing it, build it and they will come. And it sounds cliche, but it was there. That's what I kept hearing. So we were preparing for the last 3.5 years. We've run it as an Airbnb. But I just knew that this was going to be a beautiful retreat center where people could come and paint and write and decompress and get out of the rat race and just enjoy life and immerse themselves in the culture here, because it is freedom. And so that's what we've opened our doors to just last week. With the world starting to open up again, we've opened up the doors and it's been amazing, the response. We have a party of 12 that are coming in immediately. We have 2 coming from Canada, another one coming from Canada, 2 from the States. So it's already starting to come, and we can house 30 people here. And it's just, we have 4 different villas, but one is an up and down duplex. So 5 different living quarters. And they all have 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, large kitchens, large living rooms. So it's communal living at its finest in Portugal. And this came from a dream. I lived in a commune as such when I was, after my first death. I had been drinking heavily and I was really depressed. I had had an abortion and I really didn't want to have that abortion. And I beat myself up for years and drank myself into the ground. So I turned my life around after the first death, and I decided to up and move out of downtown Vancouver, and I went across the water to Kitsilano. It's a beach community. And there were 22 of us that lived in this big house, huge 3-story house. And it was extraordinary. So we were all kind of hippies. It was a vegetarian, non-smoking, non-drinking house. Most people, drank, but we were all vegetarians, definitely. And so I lived there for about a year, and it was one of my fondest times because it was like-minded. Everyone was spiritual. There was no set religion. You could have any faith, right? And most people worked with dreams. So we'd wake up in the morning, all gather at the big long table, and we'd share our dreams and the messages that were coming through. Eckhart Tolle he was always at the house, a young man. He was part of our gang. Eric Edmeades was my ex-boyfriend at the time. So we were dating at that time. I don't know if you know Eric, but Wild Fit, he's pretty big in the world now. And so these were really extraordinary minds that used to gather there. And I thought, I want to duplicate that again, repeat it again, but in a different way, and have a nice oasis near the beach where people can come. They can choose to interact with people in the house, or they can just go down to a quiet place on the property here. We haven't got the hammocks set up yet, but there will be hammocks, and there's private areas where you can just go and write. And ideally, this is what has been coming through, is that we all share our talents. So if, for instance, you're a writer, you can teach people how to write an outline of your book, all the chapters. If you're a painter, you don't have to be great at it, but it's just sharing the joy of painting. And everyone can get a $3 canvas from a dollar store and and play, right? We can paint rocks from the ocean. There's all kinds of things that we can do. So that's my dream for here, is just have a community of like-minded people that are also giving back to humanity. Probably more digital, not digital warriors, but digital givers, digital sharers. And we can do that easily from here.
I don't know about the other listeners right now, but I'm sold. Let me go book a flight. This is fantastic. What an amazing,
You're more than welcome.
What an amazing place you've created. Again, you had that vision. A lot of people, you talk about like Walt Disney, right? Disneyland was really just an idea in his head.
That's right.
And a pretty kind of crazy idea for the time, right? Imagine being this entrepreneur who says, I'm going to buy up a bunch of land near Los Angeles and I'm going to create this place. I mean, if you think about it, I'm sure he got laughed at, or people said, well, that's a great idea, but that's, a little bit outlandish, or that's not really realistic. But he did it. And
he started in Florida, and the land there was
Florida
swamp.
First.
It was swampland that he was buying up. It was some farmland, but swampland. And a legend has it is that he bought it under someone else's name in each section because he didn't want the rumors to get out there that one person was buying up all the land, because the prices would go up through the ceiling. Actually, I have clients that are from the Disney family, so I've had lots of insights there. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. I'm sure that it must have been a struggle in the very beginning to share that kind of a level of a dream. I'm sure that he was laughed at. When I became a national child advocate, my stepmom was a lawyer, and she had 5 ex-husbands. My father was actually her 5th husband. And so all of them were lawyers before my dad. And so she thought she was the authority in law, and God bless her. I mean, she really was trying to sway me in a loving way. But when we had a 3-time convicted pedophile after my daughter when she was 2. He entered our house and tried to get her. So when I was determined to change laws, she was the first one to tell me, you cannot fight City Hall. Don't even try it, Carrie. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, I know law. My whole family is law. Generations, law. And you will not be able to be successful in this. And I thought, watch me. You watch me. And lo and behold, I mean, it's a 17-year-long career, and I never made a dime from it. Specifically, I did that so I would not be on anyone's payroll. I didn't want to have any influence financially that a sponsor could come in and say, well, you're going to have to change, blah, blah, blah. I was purely the voice of the children. And damn it, we did a good job. It was
Kudos
very
to
effective.
You. And thank you for your service to humanity in doing the work you did.
Thank you. Well, actually, it was a lot of American laws that I brought into Canada, like Amber Alert. That was with MLA Heather Forsyth. We worked very hard for a long time, for several years on that. and sex offender registry, raise the age of consent. All of those were actually yours. And Megan's Law is one of the laws that I fought so vehemently to bring into Canada, but was not successful. But I still think that it would be beneficial for us to have in Canada. So that's the one law that I did not accomplish in those many years, but would still like to.
Yes, and Megan's Laws, it's amazing. I mean, because I work in real estate here in California, the way Megan's Law is part of our real estate world is every single tenant and buyer of real estate is entitled, and a landlord or a seller is obligated to give them a copy of the phone number and the website for the Megan's Law database so that anybody moving somewhere can easily look up
That's
whether
right.
or not there is a convicted sex offender near them. And it'll actually pop up as little bubbles on a map with names, photos, and also what the conviction was for.
Right.
To the extent that's relevant to the person
Right.
searching.
And I'll tell you why it's so essential that we have Megan's Law. I know a lot of people didn't want it, and this is kind of far off subject, but it's really pertinent to real estate and to families and to what is going on in this world right now with human trafficking, child trafficking, all of that, is that with Megan's Law, you could put in your area code or postal code, right, and you will see all the convicted pedophiles that live within a radius of your property or the property you're looking at purchasing. And so, for instance, the pedophile that was after my daughter when she was 2, just prior to him trying to abduct her, he was dating a woman that had 3 sons. And he dated her for the sons. Had she had the ability to be able to go online and go, where are the convicted pedophiles that live in the radius? He would have popped up. She would have saved the sons, right? So it is for the protection of the children. We have to put the rights of the children first above the collective rights of the children should supersede the individual rights of a pedophile, a convicted pedophile, right? And proven, and especially a serial pedophile. So Megan's Law, I think, is essential. And so many in Canada say, well, we have to honor the pedophile's rights as well to privacy, to secrecy, because there could be a potential of retaliation or maliciousness. And I noted studies out of Washington State. You've had very little recidivism, or not recidivism, but retaliation against convicted pedophiles. And in fact, one of the cases was a Canadian that was so frustrated with Canada, he went down and shot some American pedophiles that he found on the registry. So when I look at the laws that you've brought in, they've been strong, they've been firm, and that's what I would like to bring more into Canada. And setting yourself up financially, you can do things like this, right? So that's the plan. When you think out your world, don't think in 1 month's time, how am I going to pay rent next month? Think a year from now, 3 years, 10 years, 25 years from now. I mean, I'm getting up there in years. I'm still looking 40 years into the future. In fact, not my former husband, my current husband, I've been married twice. And so my current husband is always saying to me, well, we're going to live to be 125, So we've got lots of living here. So what do you want to do? How do you want to live? Where do you want to live? Do you want to live here? This is what we do. And that's how we created this in the last 3.5 years. And we did not have the money to build this, but we found someone to do a rent to own. And that's how we built it. And now we're able to give back.
Amazing story, amazing journey. Here on this podcast, our listeners tend to be either reformed workaholics or people who want to avoid becoming a workaholic or who want to avoid being consumed by their work to the point where they've really shut out all of the good things in life, like family and hobbies and relaxation. I know you mentioned at one point you were the number 1 salesperson in real estate, which I know the real estate world is not a lifestyle job. It is a very driven, you get phone calls that you've got to pick up. And to reach that number 1 spot, I'm guessing at that time you were working very long hours, 7 days a week is my guess. And for you, you're someone who's capable of doing that, but you're also capable of dialing that back to what you have now, which is completely different. For people who are struggling with that balance from going to one extreme to the other, finding just the way for them, what would you say? What are your best tips for them in that journey?
I would say ask a better question. You were bang on there. When I was in real estate, I was actually new home sales. So we did have office hours, but we worked far beyond that. If you wanted to be successful, and then the business meetings, the weekly meetings in the office and having to bring the contracts in, and it was a lot of work. I found I wasn't seeing my children. The nanny, I had to hire a nanny. I could actually afford a nanny, but I had to hire a nanny to take care of my kids, and who were 3 and 8 years old. They were little, right? But I had to hire someone to care for them because I was working till 10, 11, midnight at night. And then I was up and out the door 7:30, 8 in the morning. Although no, I would be there for breakfast. I'd Zoom home for lunch because I bought a house right beside their school so I could have lunch with them. So I incorporated a lot of things in my world where I worked, and then I would make time for the kids, and then I'd get them off after lunch. They would go back, and then I'd see them at nighttime, 10 o'clock, I would go and kiss them goodnight. So ask a better question. When I was in that rat race of doing everything to earn a living, I thought to myself, this sucks. I'm not seeing my kids. A nanny, a beautiful woman who became a good friend, was raising my girls, and she was seeing all the milestones. She was seeing all the joy, and I wasn't. And I was in the corporate world, which was fun again because I had been in baby world for so long. But it wasn't worth it to me because I realized these years are going to pass. And I'm going to look back and go, damn it, I missed out. So I asked a better question. I thought, okay, what am I really good at? Well, sales, yes. But what can I do that would be minimal hours and still give me an income? And I could be with my kids. So by asking questions of what you want, it's like being specific, right? My dream, what I wanted was to be with my kids, top notch, number one. But I still had to have an income, and I still had to maybe work hours after they went to sleep, right? And that would be all right. So then I realized, well, I used to be a casting director in my early 20s. I wonder if there's a casting director in our town. And as I asked that question, I was able to find on Google, on a search engine, I just pulled it up, and there was one casting director. So I asked for a meeting with her, and she said, it's so funny that you showed up because I was thinking of retiring because the big news network has actually asked me to work with them. So I was going to leave it. Tell you what, I can give you all my clients. I can give you all the agents, and you can start tomorrow if you like. So it was very serendipitous. So I went from go to being able to get commercials. It was all commercials. So majority, I did a couple of shows. Actually, I'm wearing the t-shirt, Blackstone. That was one of the TV shows that I worked with. It was a award-winning series, and I was casting with that. So anyways, all of a sudden I found myself going, wow, I would work, I'd put them down at night. I would start at 9 o'clock and I'd finish at 2 a.m. It was great. And it was all emails. I explained to everyone, I'm going to be working late. So don't mind. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you're going to get emails from me and you can respond then. And then the kids would get up. I would make them breakfast. They would go off to school. I'd work from then to lunch. They'd come back. We'd have lunch together. I'd work from that point on. And when I had to go and do the actual casting calls, I brought my kids. By 12 years old, my oldest was my assistant, and she was brilliant. She would register everyone in.
It was have her special clipboard.
She did.
My daughter would say, I want my clipboard to have kitties on it. It needs to have kitties.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And it needs to be pink.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, Nikita didn't have it. She was a brown regular clipboard, but she had to have that clipboard, and she would register everyone in. And in fact, it was about a year ago. I was talking to an actress just recently. Well, it was about a year ago. And she said, out of all the years that I was acting, your daughter was the best assistant we had ever worked with because she was so diligent and so courteous, right? So many were rude, and she was always so loving and courteous and made sure, well, you were here first. You're going in next.
And a sense of fairness and justice.
Yes, totally. And she would also prep them. She would give them all the sides, and she was really organized, and she is today. So that was great training for her as well. And
yeah, I mean, think about how that influenced her at that young age to be in that role and, to learn those skills. That's neat.
Yes. Well, both of them grew up in that, and Nikita, my oldest, she ended up working with me on Blackstone as an assistant casting of background, and great skills for her. So today she actually works with Netflix in the film industry in Vancouver. She's probably the hardest working stand-in there is, and she's now going into script supervising as well. So she is loved in Vancouver. And every month she's been working for years now, which is unheard of again because, they have large hiatuses, but she's so diligent and she knows her job so well. And it all goes back to that. So thank God I asked a better question. And I said, okay, my priority is the children. How do I stay at home and still earn enough income that, I can pay everything? And that was sitting down and figuring out my expenses. And how can I cut my expenses? How do I reduce them? Not cut. I don't like cutting. It's too violent. It's like a blue.
It is a violent, you picture sharp scissors. And
that's right. Danger. Right. So no, I just decided to bring some expenses down. So what was a necessity and what was not? And what are the needs and what are the desires? And it's good to have desires still, right? Because that drives you. The money will come. It always does.
We need to ask better questions. So let's all tonight ask a better question as we drift off to sleep.
And be specific. Yeah, and be specific. Okay. So if, you don't need money to live your dreams, if that was true, what would my life look like? Where would I be? What would I be doing? Children do this all the time. They play, they make believe, and we've stopped that. So be Peter Pan, and start believing and start playing with your mind. I remember not long ago, like you say, you would think that you would be able to do this on a regular basis, but there's long periods where I forget to do this stuff. Right. And it's being human, plain and simple. Right. And so I remember having a really glorious thought, and it was a gorgeous dream. And I woke up from my dream and I was like, wow, I haven't had a positive dream like that in a very long time. I got to consciously do that more. And so and everything has just started to flow ever since again. It's been beautiful.
Beautiful.
See? Confirmation, the birds.
And the birds outside. I see that greenery. I see a little breeze because I can see the leaves moving. I mean, you're just in a paradise over there, and that's amazing. Yeah. I am so grateful to you for this time today because you're just a delight, and your messages, your words of wisdom, very much needed. I'm sure they are landing on ears that needed to hear these words. So thank you. And I'm also very grateful for technology because you are in Portugal right now. I am sitting in California, yet we're having this amazing conversation. And that's something that wouldn't have been so easy 20, 30 years ago, but we're doing it. And it's just amazing. So thank you for sharing with us today. Where can people connect with you? How do they find you if either they want to come to Portugal, which I'm sure you would have a place for them at some point in your schedule availability, or otherwise, and to get notifications about your book, how to obtain the book, and all of that? What's the best place?
We're just in transition. Like I said, we were in Airbnb, so you don't have to go to booking.com or anything like that anymore. We still are up there as an Airbnb, but we're transitioning. So you can go to my website. It's www.carriekohan.com. So Carrie is like the movie, Carrie, terrible way to remember, but it works. And Kohan is Kohan. So carriekohan.com. And if you go there, you can either sign up for sessions, you can look at our villa, right, our retreat center. And the other thing, I guess, if you were to go to villaheaven.co, right, we have about 200 pictures on there of the retreat center. And we've had weddings here, we've had all kinds of events. It's been really beautiful. So that'll give you a flavor of it. And if that really intrigues you, then go to support@carriekohan.com and send me an email, and we'll get you registered privately, because there's no commissions. We are just really reasonably priced, 15 euros a night to 33 euros a night, depending on privacy. And if you want a private room with a private bath, or do you want shared accommodations with shared bath or one bath? There's so many different options. But I think that we can work something out for everyone. And it's just a place to be.
So everyone listening, if any of this speaks to you, and I can't imagine it doesn't, don't wait, don't put it off. Life moves fast. And I would tell you, if you're listening to this podcast today in the car, well, find a freeway exit, go pull over somewhere, write these websites down in your planner as agenda items. It's a must do, because again, if we don't make plans, if we don't visualize our future, if we don't decide to have new adventures and then put that into action, things won't happen. So if something spoke to you today and you want to go to Portugal, if you want to reach out to Carrie for coaching, write down those websites, go visit them, reach out, send her an email, and go from there. Because again, our lives are up to us to design and architect. Carrie, thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're more than welcome to come anytime. I feel like we have had such a connection here. It's been beautiful. So thank you for doing what you're doing. You're creating a beautiful world for so many. Well done.
Thank you so much. And hopefully the next episode we do together will be from Portugal face to face.
Yes. Oh, that'll be a great idea. Let's do it. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Signing off. Until next time, thank you everyone for listening today.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions, and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.